changes I've seen on the educational landscape for my entire career. And what we really need to do is move to where the puck is going to be. And it's going to take everybody on this call and everybody in the state to really work together to figure it out. It's going to be complex. It's going to be rewarding, but it's also going to be something our students need. They are going to be living in the world of AI, which means we as a system need to prepare them to be able to live in the world of AI, which means we need to prepare to be able to implement it, teach about it, and work with kids on it. So I hope that you aren't the hem and haw from the old days. I know you're all the sniff and scurries, which means you're running to where the cheese is going to be next. And I appreciate that. But again, this is an adaptive problem, not a technical fix. It's going to take all of us in this state to figure out how we're going to harness AI, how we're going to prepare ourselves, and how we're going to prepare our own students to be able to live in the world of artificial intelligence. So that's my why. And I'm going to kick it back to Jessica, who's going to kick us off with the introductions of our keynote.
Thanks, Kevin. So as we navigate this together, we know there's a continuum of awareness. I think one of our team shared with me something like this massive number of AI apps are coming live every day. And so we're all getting noise every moment about navigating just all of this and knowing what's credible, what's not credible. And at the district level and board levels, you have policies and thinking about student access to learning and use of AI and all those things. And we know as districts, you're probably also in that continuum somewhere, and that you're not ignoring it. So that's why you're here today. So it is my privilege. Any one of you could be here today. We're looking to engage many of you as part of our future sessions. And we really wanted to lean in with Kris Hagel. He is our Executive Director of Digital Learning at Peninsula School District. Kris is an educational technology leader with over 20 years of experience. And he's been a leader in the emerging area of AI education and has delivered presentations in our state and his district across the nation. And he's driven to ensure that all leaders can use technological solutions they need in whatever manner best supports their learning goals and aspirations. And so our keynote today, Kris will spend some time sharing a little more about himself and his journey in Peninsula. So welcome, Kris. We're so thrilled to have you.
Thank you. So let me get these slides here. Okay, so thank you for having me. As we were leading up there and listening to those introductions, I was on a panel last week and there was somebody from the U.S. Department of Ed, and they said that right now they're tracking about 9% of districts in this entire country are actively engaging with AI right now. And so there's still so much for us to do. So what I want to say before we start today is if you're not, moving forward yet, don't feel too far behind, but we're really going to try and help you find some resources and some things to do to help move forward and get going with the conversations around AI in your district. This is my 24th year working in technology and education. I was in the Bethel School District in Spanaway for 7 years before I came over here to the Peninsula School District where I've been for the last 17 years now. I oversee technology as well as communications and safety and security this year. So multiple hats, but one of the things that I've been really focusing on for the last year or so in our district is AI. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I was looking at trying to find analogies for, AI, and, you can kind of take it and stick your head in the sand and say, well, it's not going to impact me. I'm just going to wait and see. It's not really what I want to do right now, not where I want to steer our district, but you can kind of try and do the same thing when it comes to aging. We can all try and pretend that it doesn't happen. It's not existing and I'm not getting those wrinkles. But it does, and it is going to happen, just like AI is going to impact all of your schools. And so it's something we have to embrace and something we have to move forward on, and something that I wanted to share with you, kind of what we've been thinking about in the Peninsula School District for the last couple of years when it comes to AI. So as everybody's well aware, December of last year was really a wide awake or awakening for all of us when it comes to AI. Hopefully you were paying attention. For us, last year in our district, we had the Department of Teaching and Learning merged with the Department of Technology. So we were, as the Department of Learning and Innovation, we were sitting side by side, with our technology staff, my technology engineers, right alongside our English language arts teachers on special assignment, our instructional facilitators. And so having those people in the same building, in the same rooms, where, they started having a lot of conversations about what are we going to do with ChatGPT. Our English people had never heard about it, and our engineers were, of course, on the front lines looking at it, thinking, hey, we really got to do something. So that kind of has driven us moving forward. So in our district, we kind of just dabbled a little bit in AI about 2 years ago. We had a small cohort, maybe 6 or 7 teachers that took part in a facilitated course from WAESD. It was called AI Explorations. We did that in the spring of 2022, just to kind of understand a little bit about what's going on with AI. And like I said, we have over 600 teachers. So at the time, we only had 6 in that cohort. So it really wasn't taken off. Then last fall in our admin retreat, we'd been getting a lot of pressure in our community from business leaders who were totally enamored by the metaverse and what could be the potential of education in the metaverse. There were businesses that were advertising in the metaverse. There were architectural firms who were designing houses. There were people looking at buying and selling land in the metaverse. So we did a presentation with all of our principals. And then at the end, I kind of just threw in a couple of slides and a couple of demonstrations on what AI could do. And we now know that the metaverse hour of that presentation was probably not that useful for all of our people, but the AI stuff really was. From there, we had our digital learning coaches that we had in the district at the time. They were working and doing some coaching with interested teachers throughout the district on what can you do with AI in the classroom. And this was just kind of an ongoing, hey, let's dip our toe. This is kind of started before ChatGPT came out. And so then, in November of last year, and ChatGPT came out, we realized really quickly we needed to sit down with our high school English teachers and say, hey, what are the possibilities? What are the positives? What do we need to worry about on the negative side as well? And so, we met with all of our high school English teachers last January. I had one of them call me the next week, and she said, hey, and she's somebody that would tell you to her, she would admit that she's not one that you would probably call technology savvy. But she called me on a Monday morning and said, hey, I'm teaching Romeo and Juliet for the first time in 20 years. I don't have any of my materials. They're all gone. If I were to recreate that right now, I'd probably sit down and take 30 hours of my time. And she said, I worked with ChatGPT. It helped me develop lesson plans. It helped me develop rubrics, helped me develop a whole 6-week plan. And it took me about an hour and a half on Sunday afternoon. She's like, I don't know how I've ever been able to save this much time with anything. And so, that was just a great start to this. And I think what kicked it off was just having some of those teachers that were like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a shot. That led us into most of the spring of last year. We did what we called an AI action research project. And this was kind of brought forward by our ELA facilitator and some other people in the technology team. They wanted to meet with teachers, our secondary teachers, and kind of start collecting data around how this is working with kids. And so we brought about 20, 25 teachers together, and they all sat down and, started exploring what was possible with AI, but then also collecting a ton of data on how students are utilizing some of the chatbots at the time. How are the students interacting with the chatbots? We learned a ton from that because we were able to see, where student thought kind of ended. They would really just want to get an answer and get a solution, and they were struggling with that back and forth conversation or how to make some of the responses better. Really did a wonderful job of leading us into some of the other things we've done, and I'll talk about in a little bit with our philosophies and beliefs, but also when where we are this year. We're embracing AI in our district. We have been enabling all of our teachers that are interested in getting started to move forward, doing what we can to work with vendor partners to try and find solutions that work best for our teachers. I was just all morning with we brought back together the AI Action Research teachers from last year, plus we added a few others. Last year was mostly targeted towards secondary. We brought in some elementary teachers this time. And so I spent all morning this morning actually just working with these teachers again, just to see where they're going and what they want to be moving forward with later. So this is, again, some of our stuff that we were doing last year. This little article up in the upper corner here of Gig Harbor Now, that's our local little nonprofit newspaper here in Gig Harbor. They ran a story in March about 2 of our teachers that had jumped in head first and were doing some stuff with AI and ChatGPT in the classroom. And that has led to a ton of contacts from all over the country for Peninsula School District. So right here, I went too far ahead. So over the summer, we had Time Magazine reach out and talk to some of our teachers. And so there is nothing that makes a teacher prouder than being interviewed by Time Magazine and having your name go into Time Magazine for the work that you're doing in your classroom. One of these teachers was in the meeting this morning, and just the glow on her face still from this about them honoring her for the work that she had done was just amazing to see. So, we spent a lot of time last spring and kind of working and talking about what is this going to look like moving forward in our district. And so this article was a great article that I found. It is from a professor at the University of Alberta. Her name is Dr. Sarah Eaton, and she talks about post-plagiarism and what is the future going to look like for creating content in an AI world. And so I'd encourage you to take a look at this article. She talks a lot about how human hybrid AI writing is going to be the norm moving forward, and how creativity is going to be expanded. And so that's been a huge driver for us. And, some of the things we're thinking about is, what does this look like? If students are going to use AI, or if our teachers are going to use AI, what does that look like? And how do we want that to look in the classroom? And I think one of the things that really guides where we're at in our philosophies and beliefs is this statement here that, no matter what you do, you're still responsible for the work that you turn in. And, that whether that's in the classroom as a student, that's whether, you're a teacher or a principal. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and a teacher came up to me and he said, this email that I just got from my principal sure doesn't sound like anything she's ever written before. Do you think that she used ChatGPT to do this? I looked at it and I went, yeah, those don't look like her words that I've ever heard her say either. So probably odds are pretty good. So, it's one of those things we got to work with the adults in the system as well as the students in the system, and talk about, what do you want to be accountable for with the work that you're providing. So last year we worked in the spring on what are our principles and beliefs document going to be. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that was generated. One of the big drivers for us was making sure that this is something that we can actually use going into this school year. And so we went through a big process back and forth. I did with ChatGPT, and I'll talk about that. But then we took it, and after that, took it through a bunch of humans, through our teaching and learning team, and through our teachers that were working through this. And so that's where we've come to this document. I know there are a lot of districts around the state that are actually just almost copying this word for word. And I would encourage you, if you have nothing in your district and you want something to get started, feel free to work off of this. We're happy to let you have it. I know there are districts in other states that are using it as well. So it's longer than what you see on the screen here, but it is on our website and it's linked on these buttons if you get the slides. One of the things we wanted to do when we talked about how we see generative AI and artificial intelligence in our district is tie it back to the work that we're trying to do kind of through the Inclusive Practices Project throughout the state of Washington, and the work we're doing with UDL. And so that was very important that we had right at the beginning of our principles and beliefs that this, generative AI and artificial intelligence are something that can expand our belief or our use of UDL in the classroom. And so, we call that out pretty early in our principles document. Another thing that we also want to make sure is that at no time, at least right now, with the development of AI as it sits, there is no time where we really want AI to just be making decisions about students' education without a human being involved, or students doing work without being involved. So we want to make sure, and we talk about it in this line and also a little bit farther in the document, is that a human always needs to be involved in the decision making. We don't want, there are tools on the market right now that'll grade student work. But if a teacher is just taking that and putting it in a grade book and turning it in, that's not what we want to see in our district, and that's not what we expect to see out of our teachers and our students. So that's another element that we talk about a lot. And then this one was controversial last year. I don't know if it's as controversial anymore because everybody's kind of coming out and saying, you know what, these tools just don't work. But we want to make sure that people are not relying on AI detection for whether students are doing and creating the work that they give. I think almost every company that isn't trying to sell you a tool to detect AI will tell you that these don't work. OpenAI themselves say that 40% of the time they'll give you a false result. And so we wanted to call out just from the beginning that, we're not going to rely on AI detection tools because they really don't understand student work. And really, we want our teachers involved in the conversation and how that happens with the students. One of the things that we also published on our document is how we got to where the document sits today. And so below it, we have actual citations of the OpenAI conversations back and forth that I had with ChatGPT. I took a bunch of the U.S. Department of Ed's information that they just put out last spring around AI and teaching and learning, and some other resources from COSIN and others to kind of, take all those highlights and turn them into something as a first draft, and then working through that first draft. And you can see, if you're ever interested, these are all linked on our website below the belief statements as well. A couple other resources for districts who are just trying to get started right now. This is a great document that came out about 2 weeks ago. It's from the Council of Great City Schools in COSIN. This is a 92 or 93 point checklist on things you should think about in your district. Don't let this stop you. I still need to do this work in our district too. We're still moving forward with AI, but if you really want to think about all of the things that you should think about in your district for getting started with generative AI, this has the kind of definitive list in it. And so I'd encourage you to take a look at that. This one's a little easier maybe to understand. teachai.org, for those of you that don't know what that group is, it's a conglomeration of about 30 or 40 nonprofits, and then about 150 other education groups, state departments of education. OSBI is one of the people that has taken part, and they put together a big document on guidance for schools and how to get started with AI. And so there are things in here like sample letters to parents, sample teacher classroom policies, sample letters to students, as well as other things that you should think about from behind the scenes. So I encourage you, this is a really good first step. A really easy first step is to copy what we did in Peninsula, but if you want to move to the next step, I would say take this and work with this teachai.org toolkit. That's also a really good one. For all the superintendents on the call, I would encourage you, if you're not already, to pay attention to the Empower Ed Superintendent project. It's a joint project between AASA and COSIN. So if you don't know what COSIN is the AASA for technology leaders across the country. And so this is where AASA and some technology leaders at the national level are working together to figure out, how can superintendents, what should they expect out of their technology leaders, but also, how can they work together better with their technology leaders to move some of these things like generative AI forward in their district. So please take a look at that. There's a ton of resources there for superintendents as well. And finally, I'm going to wrap up. So as a part of American Education Week, in 2 weeks, we are going to be holding 2 events here in the Peninsula School District. And this is I'm inviting anybody on the call. You're more than welcome to join us. We'd love to see you. We're going to kind of show off a couple of our new remodeled buildings, but we're also going to have a ton of examples, classroom demonstrations, a teacher expo on how we're using AI in the classroom right now. They're actually working this afternoon to put together what our teacher expo is going to look like. The teachers that are doing classroom demonstrations with their students have got this pretty much lined up. So this would be a great event. If you just want to see what a district's doing with AI in the classroom, you're more than welcome. We'll take everybody that's interested. So just email me if you're interested, and my email is right there on the slides. And we'd love to have you come out to Gig Harbor or to Key Peninsula and see these awesome demonstrations. And with that, I'm going to wrap up, encouraging you to get started. If you have questions, we're here to help. In our district, we'd love to, if you want to talk to our teaching and learning people, you want to talk to our superintendent, we're all our tech director, me, we're all here to help. We really just want to help move this forward in the state of Washington and across the country. So please reach out. We're here for you.
Chris, thank you so very much for sharing your journey. And we know it's a journey in progress. And so thank you for being so transparent in your process and the resources you're looking to, and for being a resource to other districts that are also putting their feet out there with this. We put some of the links in the chat. Thank you, David Morrill from AWSP, for sharing your blog that you highlighted Peninsula's work and a few others, and wanted to just let everyone know that we will be sending out Chris's slides and all the participant materials, the session breakouts, as well as the recordings to you after today's session. So know those are coming your way. So before we get into breakout sessions, I want to, we just did a little dive at the regional level, a deeper dive at the local level, and wanted to invite our state superintendent, Chris Reykdal, to our space today, as he will be taking us up 50,000 feet to the state level. And know that, like I said earlier, we're all on a continuum, and so is our state agency, our state legislature. You zoom out of K-12 and there's a lot going on in this space as well. And so, Chris, I think you're here with us. We have a bit of time for you to just share your thoughts and this journey with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, and thanks everybody for being a part of this. Appreciate Chris's leadership on this, and a lot of you are doing some pretty amazing stuff out there. I did chuckle, Chris. 92-point checklist from COSIN is always a scary place to start with if you're thinking about it, AI in your school district or your building or your classroom, but there's some really great stuff there, and obviously some brilliant people who have thought about this in the educational context. What I mostly want to share with you all is a pretty simple message, which is don't stop. There are colleagues of mine around the country who are facing the same sort of questions in the education system. They often come from very different places geographically with a different ideology about a lot of this. There is reason to be cautious and careful, and you heard Chris balance that, and you all are doing that as well, how to integrate this as a tool for teaching and learning, a tool for evaluation, but also mitigate risks. The places I believe that start off with a no or a default that it's cheating, or we need to put a pause on all of this, or sort of statewide control that tries to suppress this until state SEAs around the country can get their hands around it, I think they're going to miss this big time. And the missing it part is that our students are already doing it. Our students are already way out there, but right now they're a little bit in the woods because they're trying to figure out whether it's just another cool tool, or if they're getting away with something, or if the system's really going to embrace it as a sort of massive way for them to absorb content and to synthesize content and to shrink processes. Is it a tool that is on balance great for learning, or is it something that the system is going to sort of push back on? And I just want to lead with by telling you that this SCA, this state agency, we will be all in. We are all in. We're one of the early states that are trying to coordinate this work nationally. You all will be faster than us in some ways, but we already have a bit of a team here that we're trying to build to put some shape around this. We will never step outside the lane that you know us to be in, which is learning standards, high expectations, but we don't get into the details of lesson planning. We don't get into writing gory details around your plagiarism or cheating policies, your grading practices. By law, those are local school district decisions. And there's actually some statute that says the classroom teacher is the ultimate authority on student learning. So just know that we are very much looking forward to this. It is a lot of unknowns at this time, but it's also very, very known for students because they're still fluent in technology adaptation. They're willing to take risk on new ideas, new concepts, and new ways. And it's probably a lot of us who are catching up. So very briefly, we think about it in sort of 4 columns, 2 on the educator side and 2 on the student side. For educator, it's get their hands on this. Let them explore it, let them test it, let them push it, figure out what works for them, let them see the productivity benefits, and then how some of these large language models maybe aren't quite ready. But as educators touch it, I think it's a very different experience for them. 2, we got to do the PD. So it's one thing to say it's all out there, go explore. It's another thing to say our district or your district or whatever, this is what we're kind of focused on, and start to shape some PD around it. So there's some common understanding of what's possible, particularly, and please, if you are a classroom-based educator on this or administrator at the district level, know that your IT teams are pulling their hair out in some ways, because 1 million people are coming at them with products now, and they can't support all of them. There's security issues around a lot of them. So to the extent that all of you can coordinate in your districts on, are there 1 or 2 products or pathways we're going, let's get the PD wrapped around it. So again, on the educator side, go touch it, play with it, get it in their hands. 2, put some shape around what you're going to do in your district to do some PD around that. Now to the student side. We've got to build this into our learning standards, and OSPI will do that over the next year or so, as we're now opening up ELA and math and eventually all of our content areas. We will do a better job of talking about this as part of learning standards, because there's a way of learning with AI, and then there's also risk, of course. So we've got to build that in there. But I do hope you will allow your students to embrace it. And then the second component for students is something some of you are already doing, which isn't really the theory around AI or the concepts or the ethics, but courses themselves. It's time to crank up coursework on AI. Many of you have been building out comp sci programs for a while. You've been doing coding. You're making decisions between Python and something else. The future of coding, big time, will actually be language-based models. So you can start to make that pivot. Think about it in your CT programs or elsewhere, but there's a massive amount of computer sciences coming our way that's going to start with students who actually know in concept what they want to do, but they don't have the syntax yet of coding. So they're going to leap over a generation of people who spent hundreds and thousands of hours in labs trying to figure out how to build applications. Students are now going to just do it with natural language. And so I would say to you, if you're thinking about this at all, go, go, go. Create those opportunities for students. It's going to be something they experience big time in the future. The last thing I want to share with you, besides the reiteration of let's go and thank you, is there will be a regulatory environment around this, and it'll largely come from our legislature. They're going to jump into it this year. I think they're mostly going to aim their attention at the providers, the big companies, particularly the ones housed in this state who are already building large platforms for AI technology. A lot of what I think our legislature is going to want to do is put those ethics and safety functions around them. Algorithms that chase people around and do damaging things, they want to figure out. They want privacy. There's a whole regulatory side of this that the IT sector is going to experience. And I just want you to know that our job at OSPI will be to be in those conversations, but in a way that does not cause lawmakers to attempt to write detailed laws on what you can and can't do in districts or in classrooms. They are not the experts of teaching and learning. You are. We want to give you the space. We certainly want that ethical framework, and we want those privacy protections that'll come with large regulation, but we are really doing our best to make that a focus as a statewide effort, partnered with industry, not something that specifically tries to stop you, halt you, or get in your way at the local district level, because I do think that will suppress innovation. So that'll be a bit of our balancing act. Thanks again for being here. I know you got breakouts coming. Your energy around this is going to make a difference, and we'll partner along the way. Thanks, Jessica.
Kris, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. And Nathan, I see your question in the chat. I can absolutely say that in the regions, our regional coordinators in both computer science and ed tech will be in some way, shape, or form reaching out to engage with school districts in navigating this work. OSPI, I think, does plan to have a high level, again, it is 50,000 feet level advisory that will be comprised of lots of different partners, including the ESDs, to bring folks around the table. So it will be important for all of you here to be connecting with your ESDs because OSPI does look to us in many ways as sort of the bringer of issues, celebrations, resources, those sorts of things to the table. So really, again, appreciate your leadership, Kris, and foresight, and the 4 pillars are fantastic. So thank you again for joining us. All right, so now I will introduce my friend and colleague, Molly Brinkley, who is one of our leads in the computer science initiative area, and she will launch us into the breakout sessions. Molly, welcome.
Thank you, Jessica. So the next 2 pieces of today's session will be breakout sessions. You see on the screen 7 different breakouts to choose from. So each of the breakouts will be 20-minute sessions. So you'll choose whichever session you want to go to first. In that session, you're going to use the Padlet link, and we're going to put that in the chat now for you. And that Padlet is going to be a place where you can put your questions, you can put additional resources that you're aware of, whatever is talked about in your room, you can use that Padlet as a resource guide, and we'll bring that back to help guide our next 2 sessions. And that will help continue to lead the work and be a resource because, as you can see, there's almost 200 people in this room. So 200 people's heads are better than one. So together, collectively, we can be better together. So if you want to go ahead and choose which breakout you want to start with, at the bottom of your screen, you're going to have a breakout room button that you can click on, and you can join one of those different breakout room sessions. And you'll have 2 facilitators. These facilitators come from either our ed tech group across the state or our computer science group across the state, as well as our OSPI and AESD team. So collectively together as a statewide group, we are working together to help facilitate these different sessions and continue to provide support for the state. So we will go ahead and open up those rooms, and you will be able to join whichever session you want to jump into.
Welcome back, everyone. I know people were probably cut off mid-sentence. Appreciate all of you engaging in the sessions. And just a reminder, we'll be getting the materials out to all of you from all the sessions after this. I'd like to introduce and welcome our ed tech. So in the AESD network, you met Molly, who's a co-lead with our computer science team. And we have Travis Rush, most recently out of the Eatonville School District, is joining us to take us through the next portion of our last few minutes together. Travis, it's yours.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody, and thank you for coming this afternoon and early afternoon. Appreciate you all being here. Again, the Padlet that is available to you will be available throughout the school year as we continue on to our next few sessions. So if you have needs or resources you'd like to add or come back and review, please do so. You will also be getting a link here in a minute for the a Google form to give feedback that will help inform our next session. It's very important feedback that cycle, so we can be on the edge of what you need and being sure to help you in that manner. There's a plethora of resources for you to navigate through, both at the state and the national level. It's important to understand that we will be taking those resources and consolidating them together as a network to make a hub for you. Okay. As we wrap up today, I'd like to take a moment to share with you all the events that are happening around AI at this moment. And you can find those primarily right now at the PD Enroller location and on the AESD website. When you go to the PD enroller, if you use the AI tag when you're typing or Chat GPT, you will see a mix of resources that pop up for you to go ahead and automatically enroll in. We have provided that as an opportunity to narrow down those resources. You may also reach out to your regional ESD and contact one of us, the ESD ed techs or the computer science leads, and we'll be happy to specialize in creating a customized need for you. Each ESD and each school district may be in a different location in regards to AI as far as their main needs and trainings at this time. So do not hesitate to reach out. We'll also make everything from this presentation available in the slide deck, the videos, and each of the breakout room slide decks as well for you to be able to use as a resource. I really hope that we will be seeing you again at our next session, and that as you fill out that Google form, that we can use that to utilize or to provide what tools you need for the next session as well. So please, again, don't hesitate to reach out to myself and ask questions. And we'll be sure to make sure we all get going in the right direction and being a lead in AI across the state. Jessica.
All right, Travis, can you advance the slide just to I put the link to the survey. So we wanted to give you time in these last few minutes to give us your 2 cents. And I'll just close and advance to the next one. Our next event is in January, the end of January. We'll get a link for registration. We will have you register again, just so we can have a good count at who all's coming and be prepared for you. And so we'll get those out to you shortly. And I'll just reiterate what a couple of folks in the session I was in said, is that this is all about mindset. And we are committed to supporting you with our colleagues and other associations with OSPI. Someone likened this to COVID, and I would say that it's a different kind of opportunity we have, not as bad, hopefully, as a global pandemic. And so really thinking about how do we all come together, regardless of where we are on the continuum of navigating AI, to support our educators and our leaders wherever we are, and to lift up the practices that you all are putting in place, however big or small it may feel. So again, I want to share with you these events, more information to come. We are in every region. I think to an extent, our superintendents will be asking you, how do you want to engage regionally? What sessions at the state level do you want to see through our partner organizations in statewide conferences? And then in these 2 upcoming sessions, we'll be customizing those and also wanting to share, have opportunities to share. So the next slide is just, again, contact information. We'll be getting you this, so you'll have that contact information for our leads in the regions. You should all, I know you all have your ESD superintendents on auto dial, hopefully. But again, appreciate your time and appreciate Bree and Taryn. I know you're here in the room and some of your team as well. Appreciate the work of our state partners in navigating the standards review and revision, but also helping as listeners and being thoughtful about the framework that OSPI will be building in support of districts. So the name of the game is, we're really excited to have you here today, have some opportunities on your calendars in the future. And just know you can reach out to any of us at any time with questions you have, and we will do our best to support you wherever you are on the journey. So with that, I will close it. It's great to see all of you, so many familiar faces, and thank you for your time and attention this afternoon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.